And next, so they moved from the stock market into housing. Then we had the economy was good and people perceived it to be good. The economy was really good and people perceived it to be so. And so they were out interested in buying homes, sometimes more than one. And demand outpaced the supply. The demand for homes outpaced the supply for homes. And so therefore, there was a shortage or an implied shortage or a perceived shortage, and there was scarcity. If you're taking notes somewhere, you might want to make a note. Scarcity always creates urgency. Scarcity always creates urgency. And you're going to hear from some of the presenters today about how to today, in today's real world, how to still create urgency through scarcity. And the press touted a hot housing market. Wasn't it true? There wasn't hardly a newspaper you could pick up that didn't have something in the paper about you better buy real estate. Wall Street Journal had an article back in August of 2003. It said as the stock market heads south, so does smart money. It moves into real estate. How many of you saw real estate, the new gold standard? All the newspapers were touting, you should go buy. You watch Cavuto or any of those TV shows, and they were talking about, now's the time to buy a house. There's never been a better time to buy a house. And so what happened? This created just a frenzied environment. And it created an environment, reminds me of what Woody Allen once said, and you've heard me say this so many times before, as the quote in Builder magazine said, I've been saying this stuff during the boom times, that the market was so good, as Woody Allen once said, 90% of life is just showing up, that if we as a builder or a salesperson or a sales manager just showed up and didn't screw up, just show up and didn't screw up, we could do okay. How many of you knew salespeople that worked for other builders in your competitive marketplaces that weren't very good by your definition, but yet they still sold homes? And some of them even got rewarded and high awards for selling homes, but they weren't very good. Now, how could that be? It could be because the buyers were so convinced that if they didn't buy now, they may never have an opportunity again, or they would pay a lot more, or that they would somehow miss out. Now, I suggest to you that some of that still exists today. For example, can you imagine? Gasoline is what? What's gasoline now in most parts of the country? About $2 and what is it in, if you're from Montreal? But that's Canadian. I'm only kidding. So that's really like what, $2.50, $2.60? Gasoline's pretty high, isn't it? So I want to share with you what I don't think is happening. I don't think, and I'm going to make up a fictional couple, and I mentioned this yesterday in the program, Stop Leaving Money on the Table, but it's worth repeating. Imagine John and Sally, just a nice little couple with two little kids. They wake up on a Saturday morning. John says to Sally, what do you want to do? Sally says, I don't know, there's a lot of things we could do. Beautiful fall day, we could take a ride in the country. We could go to the mall. We could go shopping. We could go to the No, she says, I got a better idea. Better idea. Let's load up the kids in the car. Let's fill up the 30-gallon tank with $2.50 a gallon gasoline. And let's go driving all over the place looking at model homes. And let's go in and tell those people at the Model Home Center, we just want to get a brochure and take a look at your models. How many of you have heard that from people? Just want to get a brochure. Raise your hand if you've ever heard a customer, just want to get a brochure and take a look at your models. Do you ever get this one? The minute they walk in, within 30 seconds, they're giving you that deer in the headlight look. It's like this. Where are we? You ever get that one? Then they say, we just want to get a brochure and look at your models. So now they get a brochure and look at the models. They do that all day. They go to 17 places. Now they come back, they forget they went out. They come back a week later. It's following Saturday. John says to Sally, what do you want to do? She says, you know, we could go to the mall, we could go shopping, but we had such a good time last week gathering up those brochures. Let's load the kids back in the car, but we can't go to all 17 places. So let's decide the 6 places we want to go. So using the process of elimination, which is what buyers do, they get all the brochures out, they line them up alphabetically by the first letter of the last, the name of the builder, and they have a little family meeting. And they read the builder story and they decide, yes, this is the builder we want to. And they go through this whole little process of elimination, ranking and scale, and they identify the 7. And they go back out to those 7 and they drive all over and they drive back out and they say, and your name is? Sean. They drive out and they say to Sean, Sean, it was good to see you last week. We just came back to tell you we still want to think about it. We'll see you. How many of you think people are just driving around out there today for the heck of it and coming back for a second time telling us they want to think about it? So what I'm going to suggest to you is that the buyer is out there today thinking about it. Yeah, they're thinking about it. But I'd like you to make this very serious note. Our job, and you're going to hear a lot more about this today, woven through all the presentations. Our job today is to cause the customer to think it through. Not just because the longer they think about it, the longer they're going to keep looking. And the longer they keep looking, the more confused they're going to get. And the more confused they're going to get, the less likely they are to take action. So we have to cause them to think it through. And we have to do that by going back to the future, The reemergence of the sales process, and this is the note I'd like you to make for you serious note takers. We've got to elevate that process to a higher level of conscious involvement, than ever before. In the absence of a process today, we have nothing. So that's what happened. The economy was great. And what I want to do now is I want to introduce to you all of the phenomenal presenters that we are going to have for the day, and then we're going to come out with our very first presenter. So I'd like to go back. Where's the slide?